Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome back to my Saturday Hodgepodge, my weekly wrap-up of my reading, booktube stuff, bookish things I've been thinking of, random thoughts. I don't have a whole lot to say, I don't think, this week. Last week's 100th Hodgepodge Q&A probably strained your patience for hearing me talk, so I'll do you a favor and try to keep it short. Today. I don't even have any music to share with you. This week has been kind of an unusual week. Anyway, so the first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about book prizes again. I think I've addressed this subject before, but the announcement of the Booker long list last week, I believe, naturally made a stir here on BookTube. A lot of people here follow BookTube prizes closely. Some people have their whole channel, has a BookTube, I keep saying BookTube prize, has a book prize in their name. I'm not talking about the BookTube prize that Robert from Barter Hordes hosts and runs and sweats blood over making sure it works every year, but about book prizes in general. But anyway, Ramble. Anyway, the release of the Booker Prize long list did generate some interest here on BookTube, and so I wanted to address that. So, I follow a lot of people. I watch a lot of channels on BookTube, and there was, a diversity of reaction, I would say. If you've seen Steve Donahue's videos from, I don't know if it was earlier this week or last week, he spent a lot of time not talking about book prizes and the Booker Prize in particular. And Steve definitely has an opinion that book prizes are, and I don't know if he used this term or not. I think he has a different term, but I can't remember what it is if our book prizes woke? Are they intentionally going out of their way to choose books because of the biography of the author and not because of the quality of the writer? And on the other hand, I've seen several people express some unhappiness with what they perceive to be a kind of a lack of diversity, or some things they think indicate that the BookTube prize, or that the Booker Prize judges, I'm going to keep doing that the Booker Prize judges did a poor job in bringing in enough diverse authors into the Booker Prize long list. So I did a little research on the 13 authors, trying to find out things about about them demographically, to kind of see where we were on this, because it made me curious. How concerned about diversity is the Booker Prize. Is it too concerned? Is it not concerned enough? So I just did a little demographic information. By the way, this is an incredibly, intensely uncomfortable thing to do, because it basically meant that I had to do some Google searching research on whether or not people were heterosexuals, and that really and cisgender, that really ended up being a lot more uncomfortable than I thought it was when I just kind of cooked up the idea for this project. So in terms of gender, I'm going to use that term. In terms of gender, the prize, the long list for the Booker Prize has 13 people. 7 of them are men, 6 of them are women, and there are no trans or intersex authors on the list as far as I can tell. So there are more men than women, and there are no trans or intersex people on the list. In terms of race or ethnicity, 8 of the authors are white, 3 of the authors are of Asian heritage, 2 of the authors are black, one a woman who was born in Somaliland but I believe grew up in England, and the other an African American young man. That ratio of 8 white to 5 people of color, I guess depending on your perspective, you're going to decide if that's diverse enough or if that's too diverse. The Booker Prize is given to books published in English from countries that had been formerly a part of the British Empire. I think it's likely to skew white, but I do know that there were some people who were unhappy that 2 authors from South Africa were recognized on the Booker long list, and neither of them was black. And I do see why that is problematic. And then I think the most uncomfortable thing that I looked at was essentially, are the authors cisgendered, heterosexual, or are they heterosexual authors or not? And this is a place where there was some question. But based on my research, I believe that 10 of the 13 authors would be considered heterosexual, and 3 either I don't know, or one of whom is openly gay. So like I said, if it sounds like I'm uncomfortable talking about that, it's because I am. But I wanted to find that out because, you know, if you're one of those people who, you know, feels like the Booker Prize and book prizes in general are more concerned about diversity than literary merit, then, you know, to me, what you're really probably really saying is that they are looking to reward intersectional people who combine more than one kind of minority group experience in themselves. For instance, one of the authors is a black woman. That's intersectionality. You know, women are traditionally discriminated against in Western society, as are people of African descent, and therefore that would be, you know, an intersectional author. There are, you know, really only a few authors who kind of meet that standard of intersectionality. So, you know, I have a tendency to disagree with Steve that the prize is, you know, too concerned about intersectionality, because there doesn't appear to be a lot of intersectionality on the list. I think he might argue that we'll have to wait to see who the winner is, because the long list isn't as important, and maybe that's true, but to me it feels a little bit like a self-confirming thing either way you go. If you're someone who feels like the Booker Prize has gone too far in terms of diversity over literary merit, then if an intersectional person wins, you're going to go, see, I told you. If you're a person who feels the Booker Prize is not diverse enough and a white man wins, you're going to go, see, I told you. And I really think that what we're looking at then with book prizes is that they're in a no-win situation. And that kind of brings me to talking about book prizes in general, other than the BookTube Prize here, which is incredibly democratically resolved. But prizes like the Booker Prize rely on a group of 5 judges, I believe, to decide, read through these books and decide which 13 books go on the long list, which books go on the short list, and which book ultimately wins. To think that 5 people can determine what the absolute best literary work of art was in terms of a novel in any one given year is just inherently, obviously impossible. That's not going to happen. No matter who the Booker Prize or any other prize chooses, people are going to call it cry foul, and people are going to say, well, there are much better books than that. And of course, from their point of view, they're going to be right. There is a lot of objectivity in the way we review or evaluate books, but sometimes prize judges just go based on the one they liked best, the one that resonated with them best, the one that moved them the most, and that may not be the one which contains the best written sentences or the tightest plot, or, you know, there can be all kinds of things involved in this decision the judges make. And so for me, you know, book prizes have never chosen the best book, the absolute best book. Their chance of doing that seem awfully random, and from my point of view, if they can't possibly choose the absolute best book, then attempting to reward books from diverse authors is as valuable as anything else they might do. Anyway, there you go. There's me on the Booker Prize and book prizes. I have been reading this week, of course, because, you know, that's what we do. This is Faulkner in August, and as of today, when you're watching this video, we will have completed our first section of reading, which was chapters 1 through 8. It's a reread for me. I've read Sanctuary, but only once. So, you know, in lots of ways, there are things I'm rediscovering here that I'd forgotten, connections and kind of Faulknerisms that kind of jump out at me and kind of, you know, are a part of being someone who reads and enjoys Faulkner. I think a lot of those connections are here. Our Voxer group has just been incredibly lively and excellent. Good discussion, a little bit of arguing, a little bit of trying to stay within the parameters of the reading schedule, but really enjoyable stuff over there. And I will be making a video as soon as I stop making this video. I'll make a video covering the first 8 chapters of Sanctuary, so I'll talk about those there, and that video will go up on Sunday, I believe. I did finish reading A Ghost in the Throat by Doireann Ghríofa, which when I picked it up, when I bought it, I thought it was a novel. It really isn't a novel. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I think next week I'm going to do a whole week of reviews of books that I liked, and this will be one of those books. Matter of fact, it might be the first book that I do since it's most recent in my memory. But I would say this was a really rich reading experience. It's part memoir, it's part research project, it's part feminist. It is in some ways, you know, a tribute to women and their strength, and a lot about motherhood. And it is a really unusual. I thought it was a really unusual read, and it kind of centers around a classic work of Gaelic poetry, which is the keen for Art O'Leary, which was composed by his wife after his murder. His wife's name was Eileen Dove, I believe is how you would say her name. It's written in Gaelic throughout, and this is kind of, you get to experience things with the Gaelic language and pronunciation. It was a really great, powerful, enriching reading experience. I'm still sorting through exactly what I thought, but I do think it's well worth a read, and I'll probably do a review of that next week. So yeah, other than that, I think that's it for this Saturday Hodgepodge. I won't go on about anything else. I probably went on way too long about the Booker Prize anyway. I look forward to your comments in the comment section below, and as always, thank you for watching.